How would your wife describe you in one sentence?
We've been married now for 13 years now.
Wow.
But we've been together something like 15 years or so.
I've been married 15 years. We've known each other almost 21 years.
Wow. One of the things I definitely credit my wife for is helping me find God. Are you and your partner looking at the world through the same mental model? And this is very critical.
When I say that we dated for 6 years, people are in disbelief. You're like,
Yes.
what were you guys doing for
Yes,
6
we're like-
years?
One of the things that I know many men struggle with is suddenly the children become the focus. And you are suddenly the third wheel of that relationship in a way. What's the man's role? What's the woman's role?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about microwave romance, is that they're measuring what they see on TV. Oh, sorry, TV is our generation. Sorry, what they see on social media.
This person who was once your cheerleader
Yes.
is now your biggest source of pressure.
They're basically buying something or looking for something. Chances are to impress people you don't even like.
How is your relationship, first of all, with your in-laws?
It was literally me having now to defend my spouse to my family.
When you're dealing with a person, husband or wife, who's an entrepreneur, it's an entirely different kettle of fish.
Yes.
That I look at my mother-in-law as my mom, I look at my brother-in-law as my bro.
As much as your family, your siblings, your parents love you, they can also do a lot of damage to your marriage if you're not careful.
When you find that partner or the spouse, it's not just them you're marrying a broader ecosystem.
I have done therapy with my wife and also done therapy by myself.
Hashtag me God.
Any God. Welcome to the last episode of season 2 of Be That Woman podcast. And I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all 8,000 plus subscribers on YouTube and over 3.3 million impressions. Guys, you guys are showing off, and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's because of all the guests, all the interactions, all the engagement that we have come this far. So thank you so much. And today we wanted to bring you a very, very special edition. And this is the first time that we are bringing men to the podcast. So before you ask me, Joy, why, what, explain why, let me explain. So I've had a couple of men in my DMs asking, how can we join the conversations? How can we be part of this insightful discussions? And this is how we're bringing it to you. So we are not shifting the focus from women, but we are trying to understand how women also impact the men and also how the men feel impacted by the women. So it's going to be an exciting conversation, and I'm excited for you guys to all hear the amazing, amazing lineup of men that we have for you. So we asked 2 brilliant men to talk about the women behind their success stories. So could be their mothers, could be their sisters, could be their wives, their daughters, their children, their mentors who shaped their lives. And today we are joined by 2 phenomenal, outstanding men, and I will let them introduce themselves. But welcome to Be That Woman podcast, Mr. Greg Wanjama and Mr. Moses Kemibaro. Karibuni sana.
So much.
Ooh, this is the point. All right. So they say behind every successful man is... I will let...
Is it a hardworking woman?
a hardworking woman.
A strong woman.
Yes, or a strong woman. I love it. So we're going to hear what our guests have in store for us, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So we'll start with you, Greg.
My name is Greg Wanjama. I am a husband, a father of 2 boys. Career-wise, I'm a software engineer. Most recently, I am now in the AI space, really just bringing literacy to that space, helping people augment their everyday life and work with AI. And yes, happy to be here. As in, I have followed your journey by proxy through my wife, Grace, and really happy, excited to be here.
Yes, and we love Grace Murugi on this podcast. Shout out to you, Grace. Greg, you're a lucky man, I must say.
I know.
You know? Good answer. All right, Moses, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you so much, Joy. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Yes.
You and I actually met for the first time during This is Digital launch, your new
Yes.
startup company with your wife, Grace.
Yes.
And I was invited to give a presentation. So I remember you and I had a bit of a chat, and you reached out at some point and said, why don't we come onto your podcast? And I'm just delighted to once again, be on someone else's podcast as a guest. So yeah, my name is Moses Kemibaro. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called .Savvy. That's a digital business consulting agency that I've been running now for the last 23 years. I've also been an entrepreneur and a startup founder in various scenarios in Kenya. I also, like yourself, happen to be a podcaster.
Yes.
I'm a blogger. I'm a technology analyst. I'm a speaker. I also, of course, I'm a husband and a father to 3 children. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to an interesting and compelling conversation.
I love it. I love it. You're wearing many caps, both of you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I actually remember we met at the launch. This is Digital, by the way. Congratulations on launching This is Digital AI, launched in July. If you've not checked it out, you need to check their socials and what amazing work that they are doing. But I'll pull up that photo that we had. We were sat together, I think on just on a table.
On the table.
Yeah, and we never figured that we'd be sitting on this podcast.
Yes, here we are. Thanks to you.
A couple of months later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miracles do happen. And Moses, thank you so much for being here. I know you underwent something recently, so you have really gone above and beyond to just come to the podcast, and we're really honored.
Pleasure. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm excited to have this discussion with you, men. So my first question is very simple and easy. How would your wife describe you in one sentence?
You want me to go first?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I think she would describe me as dependable because that's really what I have strived to be throughout our relationship, not just our marriage. I think she would also describe me as supportive. Yeah. At least I hope I do.
Yes.
I hope. Yeah. I think those are the things that come to mind. Dependable and supportive.
Right. Very good qualities. What about you, Moses?
I think I'm the reverse of Greg because I'm the one who's much more public. I'm out there doing stuff. I do content with a great deal of passion. I see myself as something of a technology thought leader. I feel like my wife is kind of like the grounded one.
Yes.
She's the one who is the voice of sanity. She's the one who steadies the ship. Incredibly reliable. So for me, I think she's kind of like the one who grounds me. And therefore, she probably thinks of me as maybe more of the adventurous type or the more outspoken type.
Right.
Whereas I think she's that counterweight to that sort of behavior. And quite often, I think I might get into what I call flights of fantasy, where I want to do things that are a little bit extreme, and then she'll be the one who's like, hang on a second, slow down.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, let's think about this.
Take it easy.
Let's see how this works.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll probably say that's maybe how she probably sees me. Yeah.
I love it. Something I'm taking away is there needs to be a balance.
Yes.
One is up there,
Yeah.
one is here.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens if you're both extroverts? Will it be a good match?
Maybe that's a high energy environment.
Very high energy, probably chaotic, but also probably
Yes.
very high impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my personality, when I do the test on 16 personalities, it always comes back INTJ-A. So I'm introverted. I like structure. I like knowing the bigger picture, even as I get into anything. So even as the CEO of This is Digital, I still want that overview of what are we doing in the next quarter.
Right.
I'm not just living
You're a
day
planner,
to day.
eh?
Yes, I'm a planner. I want to, have an overview of my calendar and what's happening. So even with this podcast, having it scheduled
Right.
for me was really important because there's too much happening, and I don't like the feeling of not knowing what's coming,
Right.
not being in control.
Would you say you're not spontaneous?
I am not spontaneous. My wife really tries to make me spontaneous.
Yes.
But no, no, it has never been anything that interests me, being spontaneous. I'd rather just have a plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And when people meet your wife, they'll be so surprised.
Grace is good times and vibes, and
Yes.
she's still very organized in her own way.
Oh, yes.
But she's very spontaneous. I mean, she's the one who will come home with, there's this opportunity, there's this idea. I think, as guys can get into it, I want to see the numbers. I want to see the upside and the downside.
Right.
I want to analyze the scenario, the situation. even just random invitations like, so-and-so is inviting us, for dinner at their house. I want to know who else is going to be there. I want to know what time, I also want to know what time we're leaving.
Oh my goodness.
So things like that, that are not necessarily good for social.
Yeah.
To her credit, she has told me, a couple of times that that pragmatic approach has also helped in other areas of, our lives, our investments, our finances, the projects that we're doing. She knows that if Greg is, invested in it,
yes,
she doesn't have to worry too much. She can focus on everything else and let me worry about the planning.
But I'd also come back and say that I think we're also somewhat hybrids. Mm-hmm. By nature, I'm an introvert.
Yes.
But over time, it's situations, work scenarios forced me to become much more extroverted. Even when I still go into a public forum, I struggle to start that first conversation and
yes,
that sort of thing.
You're right.
So you kind of have this duality that might exist. And just to maybe to add on to what you said, and I'm just remembering the same thing. Like, I'm not the guy who initiates the holidays. Mm-hmm. I'm not the guy who creates those family moments. That comes from my wife.
Yes.
In fact, she reminded me, I remember not too long ago, that when we first started dating, the way we would date is that she'd find me in the office on a Sunday.
Wow.
Because you're there grinding away doing your startup. And you're in your happy place. Remember, this is pre-smartphones. The internet is in the office.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I'd drive from my place. I'd be working. And sometimes it literally be, she doesn't tell me she's coming. And then she just knows on Sunday at 3:00, she'll find you at the office.
At the office.
And we knock on the door and you're like, oh, you're here. Yeah. See, and then, let's go for coffee.
Yeah.
Let's go for a drink. Let's go for... And I'm like, okay. Then I go and leave the laptop. But what's funny about that is, as much as I'm somewhat extroverted, you find that the other person has these other parts of them that become part of the fun or the more extroverted elements of the relationship. So I think each person has that duality, but it's a question of where do you prioritize your time, or what is front and center for you versus them. She's all about experiences. She's all about travel, moments. I'm like, I gotta get this proposal out. I gotta prepare for this present. I'm like a work obsessive, right? So
you're a workaholic.
I work is my happy place.
Right.
I'm happy. I'm not. For me, it's not even work. It's like hobby that becomes work. Mm-hmm. And what I like to say about that sometimes is that your partner can be the one who pulls you back from going too deep down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I was single and I was not settled in everything, where would I be right now? I'd be in my office on a Sunday working.
Working.
I know it sounds crazy, but
yes, that is what you know life to be. Right.
Yeah.
And let me just get to you first. You talked something about there were no phones back then.
The smartphones.
So I'm so curious. How did you guys meet? I remember when you...
That was physical. That was all one-on-ones. So the way I met my wife is we went to I met her for the first time when I went to what was a career day at my former school. And I was invited to come and talk about careers on the internet because that time I already had started work. Was I even working at Dotsavi then? Yes, I think already had started Dotsavi. Mm-hmm. So I was there and I had a table with my laptop and students were coming and there were doctors, lawyers, engineers. So somebody had invited me to come and, as an alumni, come and speak there. And then I met her and she was, at that point in time, her business was all about doing bespoke cards, handmade cards. Mm-hmm. That's what my wife is known for. So that's what her career has been. So she too was also an entrepreneur, but she was basically working with women groups and such people to create cards for weddings, corporate events, and gifting stuff and all. So we met there, and I think the commonality was that we're both entrepreneurs in completely different types of businesses. But it was very odd because when we met and we were talking, it was so weird because it was a time in my life when I was also in another relationship. Mm-hmm, and there was been a conversation at that point about her helping me do my wedding cards.
What? Yeah. With someone else?
Yeah. And but then if you need cards, I do this. And we're working on that. We'll see. So it's so hilarious the way it works out. Then that relationship didn't work out. But ironically, when you think back in hindsight, there was a spark or there was something there.
You were all trying to suppress.
But of course, I was somewhere else. But then I think it was probably several months later, maybe a year later, sort of reconnected at that point in time now. You sort of have that familiar memory. Yeah, we had a great conversation. Then doing the lunches, phone calls,
you
things
pick it up.
And you pick it up from there.
Yeah. And how long have you been married?
We've been married now for, what year was that? 13 years now.
Wow.
But we've been together something like 15 years or so.
Oh, brilliant. How about you, Greg?
I've been married 15 years.
Wow.
We've known each other almost 21 years.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
University, high school?
This was immediately after high school.
Wow.
So that's when I met Grace. We met in church. We both fellowshipped at the time at NPC Valley Road, which is now CITAM Valley Road. I've always been, a techie, nerdy kind of kid, and also come from like a strong Christian home. So in my teenage years, I just gravitated towards church.
Yes.
The fellowships and, other teenagers who shared similar values. She was in that space as well. There was one specific ministry in the youth program where we used to help create the church bulletin, like the announcements that back then we used to actually have like a physical bulletin that we would hand out. Ushers would hand them out as you walked in.
Yes.
So I was somehow along the way found myself in charge of that ministry and, helping to coordinate, activities or announcements. This week we're doing this, so it needs to go into the bulletin. It needs to be prioritized on the first page and other things on the, and it was a whole production, but there was a small team and Grace and I were
I'm curious, how do you pick up the conversation in church of how you like someone?
Well, I think it just happens, because
happens naturally.
The same way it happens in an office setting.
Yeah.
As in, you guys are working.
Okay.
Your brains are not really. You're not
actively looking.
Yes, you're not actively looking.
Yes.
You sort of fall into it, yeah.
Yes, exactly. You fall into it. You find yourself there. You're like, this is the one person who I can really depend on this, because there were very many occasions when something was needed. And I couldn't reach anyone except Grace.
Okay.
And in fact, there were times when I'm staying back, trying to make sure that the bulletin is ready and out and ready for publishing. It's been emailed. And when you look around, it's Grace.
It's Grace.
Who's around.
Yes.
And so eventually you're like, okay, let's take a break. Let's go for lunch. Let's do this. So in those interactions is when you start to see other qualities about this person.
You know what I'm saying? Hashtag me God.
Yeah, me God. This is literally and figuratively.
Yeah, the environment, the moment.
Yes, the environment, yes. It was church, but it could have easily has been, an office setting. Because for me, I think what I valued, I think the quality that stood out for me.
Yes.
Even as you asked me earlier, as in how she describes me. For me, she was that dependable person in that team. Yes, there were other guys who, did brilliant work, but if there was ever a crisis and there was ever something that
she was on top of it.
Yeah, she could handle it. Yeah.
I think I want to add something on that, just the value of partners in the spiritual realm for me, because one of the things I definitely credit my wife for is helping me find God. And I'm saying this, Yanni, with absolute honesty, because if you met me pre her, my lifestyle was very different, right? And I think what I find is very interesting. I know this is maybe not part of the conversation we're meant to have, but it's such a fundamental foundation of who we are today as a family, as a couple, that through my wife, her family, there's things that God brings into your life that start to show you that this person is the right person for you. And with her, I fully 100% credit her for allowing me to find God and find a way forward. Because, when your life is chaotic and, somebody maybe already loves you as a person, but there's this other aspect of you that is literally the dark side, and this manifests itself, obviously, and it's a strained relationship. But if you can actually come to a situation where you find your spiritual growth or your spiritual goodness through your partner,
right?
Because maybe in the background they're praying, they're exposing you. Yeah. Like, I'll give you one instance. When my wife's father suddenly passed away, he's a really great man, a really good man, and we were going through the process of planning for his funeral and all. And he was quite involved in one of the churches, and also one of the universities where he was involved. What I saw, which was so fascinating, was the way the church came around them. From planning, organizing. And then at some point, I remember even asking my wife, okay, I've seen now who you really are. I've seen where you really come from. Now you're really in the mix. So you're seeing, wow, my wife comes from a strong Christian home.
Right.
Now really, really seeing it. I remember even asking her, like, how did you end up with me? Because I'm so not that.
You're the opposite.
And, as I saw it, I almost reached a point of realization, almost like, Moses, you need to step up here. You know, you're coming from such goodness. You need to now find your compatibility in there. And you know, God has a mysterious way of working. He works in the background.
Absolutely.
He's working on you. He's working through those prayers and everything. And eventually, you know, I got saved in this process. But for me, why I'm saying this is when you now talk about grace, you know, that compatibility that, you know, me and my wife rarely, I don't even think we argue.
Yes.
We discuss. And we even discovered later on that my dad and her dad were both engineers. They were both in the East African community at the same time.
Wow.
They even knew the same people. You know, I have a TZ background. She was born in TZ.
Are you serious?
Dads were moving around the region. And just almost this weird, incredible compatibility that you're just saying, #ni God.
Ni God. It cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah, everything just matches well.
Yes.
And we find that strong compatibility, which is, I think, reflecting to what you said earlier, which is the fact that you're in that environment, you had common values, you had common viewpoints.
Right.
You probably have a similar mental model of the world. As opposed to those relationships where there's such a dichotomy.
Yes.
Right.
That there's fire and, you know, things are flying and drama and, you know, they can be very passionate 1 second. The next thing they're broken up for 3 weeks and they're back. It was never any of that. It's just almost a calm realization that this is the right person.
And I like how you said you don't argue, you discuss. Because I think with God in the foundation of it all, it's easy for you to come to understandings in a better way, right?
I think for me, I'll say that's the reality now. But it wasn't always roses, you know. Especially in the early years of our marriage. Yes, there were just clear differences of opinion that either we were too immature to figure out how to express them in a civil way. So it would degenerate, you know, into like actual arguments. But with time, you just gain a sense of maturity and you look at this person as, you know, literally a version of yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. The moment I stop or the moment she hangs up, then my call comes through or her call comes through.
Wow.
So it's usually, you know, it's uncanny how God in his own way can take two completely different people, because Grace and I have fundamental differences. Like when you look at our personalities, you know, she's very outgoing. I'm more reserved. I prefer safaris. She prefers the beach. She wants, you know, sunny days. Me, I prefer cloudy days. I prefer,
Same,
you know,
like
and, you know, and I like cold.
Yes.
But when it comes to some fundamental things, like especially like parenting, oh man, as in we are so aligned on so many things. I cannot imagine parenting with anybody else.
Right.
To be very honest.
So it's important for you to find that, especially
Complementary.
You need a common ground that you can build on with your partner. What I love about Grace, especially when I think about what has she taught me, or like you say there Moses is saying his wife helps, you know, shape even his faith.
Yes.
For me, I feel like Grace helped to shape my character along the way. From moving from an individual who was very closed and reserved and very happy to just be in the background and do my thing and do it with excellence. And even if no one sees, no one claps,
it's fine.
I'm fine. You know, I'm very comfortable in my skin. I actually like solitude. I like, you know, reading books quietly, listening to podcasts. And now to the place where suddenly I'm thrust into the limelight. I'm the CEO of a company. We're doing a big launch. I am training. I'm speaking. I'm at a podcast.
Exactly.
This is not something I would be doing.
Maybe she convinced you. I don't know.
But it's what I think happens is when you've been with someone as long as we have, some of their qualities rub off on you.
That's true.
And some of yours rub off on her. Because now she is feeling like it's okay for me to just stay home. And, you know, not have a big event, or, you know, I don't want to attend this big thing that someone is inviting me to. I just want a quiet evening. In fact, it's become common for her to just spend the evening in silence. Yes, me and her will talk, but if I am also like doing my own thing in the corner, she's also found ways to just also
in her corner. And I definitely would love to get to that, especially how you are co-founding the same business, first of all.
Yes, working together.
Yes. But before we get to that, Moses, I have a question for you. So especially, I want you to talk to the Gen Z about that old school love. You know, these days we're trying to rush things, and you've been married 13 years, you've been married 15 years. What is it that worked really significantly for you?
So first of all, I think the word I heard the other day, somebody used the word microwave in the context of doing things quickly.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a microwave
relationship,
romance.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's what I'm learning is that the best kind of relationships are built on a foundation first and foremost that you actually are friends. And I know this maybe sounds so weird,
cliche,
but the way that my wife and I became friends first and foremost was like we're buddies. You understand? We were actually buddies.
Yes.
Meaning that we'll call, we meet for lunch. There was no intention or even any clarity that this is going somewhere else. We're talking about our business challenges as entrepreneurs, talking about life. I even remember at some point when we were having discussions before we kind of fell into the relationship where maybe I was a bit dating, she was also dating. But basically there was no clear picture that this was actually going to be a relationship. And then the compatibility just started coming out. We talk about family. Oh, your dad was an engineer. My dad, oh, you worked here, whatever. Oh, TZ, Kenya, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
It's building up. But I think partly because in many ways, I think our upbringings had very similar foundations. And even we continue to discover we know the same people. Even though I grew up in Mombasa and she was growing up in Nairobi. But I'd say the first thing is, are you friends? And if that is not there, then what foundation do you have when things get hard? Because another thing that happens in life and marriage and all that, you're going to have good days and bad days. Whether it's for health reasons, financial reasons, things are difficult at work perhaps. These things all have dynamics. When you bring a child or children into the marriage formula, so to speak, one of the things that I know many men struggle with is suddenly the children become the focus. And you are suddenly the third wheel of that relationship in a way. And how we get through those things is that if we don't have that mutual respect, that mutual friendship, where at the most basic level, we are essentially on the same page, that thing will never have legs.
Yes. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Having the other person as your friend first, that is what has sustained our marriage. I'd say that. Just knowing that I can trust and rely on this person, regardless of how the emotions are right now. Yes, we might have had a heated discussion. We're disagreeing on a point of view about something. But fundamentally, I'm not forgetting that Grace is first and foremost my friend. Okay?
Right.
And not just a friend, but a very good friend, like my best friend. Okay. That way, even if a situation arose that I needed to come to her defense, it would just like natural. I know who this person is. You don't have to tell me anything different. I have walked the journey with her. Okay, so having that, like Moses is saying, will help you navigate so many headaches, especially like disagreements in marriage. Because, like he said, when the kids come. Most men do feel like they take a backseat in the relationship. You become the third wheel, or worse, the people who actually feel like I'm just being reduced to a meal ticket. I am just the guy paying the bills and facilitating your life. Yes, I'm facilitating everything. Your holidays, your Instagram moments. I'm the guy paying for those things. I'm the guy in the back. But what am I getting?
Become a transaction.
Yes, yeah, it's and it's in those moments that most men, unfortunately, just don't know how to deal.
How did you handle kids coming to the picture?
So
between you and your wife now?
We had always agreed that the kids would never come first. And I know that sounds selfish. Yes. It sounds weird. But even biblically, you are, as a man, I'm instructed to live and cleave to my wife, not my kids. My wife, okay? So my wife comes first, and the kids. And in fact, there's something that we keep being reminded by our older couples, is that these kids you're seeing running around right now and who are taking up all your attention, they will leave. One day they will be off to college or off to their lives, and it will be you and that spouse, and you and your wife. And if you are not friends, how are you going to navigate that period?
Right.
Yeah.
Even as kids, we're getting to that season. My son is now essentially entering the last phases of high school. We're starting to have conversations about universities,
Yeah.
those sort of things. His demeanor is like in the morning, hi, gone.
Yes.
Evening back, go somewhere out. He has his own life. He has his own things. My daughter was younger, same story, and I think exactly to the point. Yeah. So if anything, I'm kind of looking forward to that phase because I think it'll be a return to where we started in a way. But the bottom line is that there's that foundational piece that exists in that relationship that makes it important. And I think I want to mention is that maybe coming back to our earlier conversation is that in addition to the friendship, I think there's almost a division of roles that's important in the sense of who takes care of what. Like one thing I'll say immediately about my wife is she is the planner, she's the organizer. She knows where the schools are going to happen. She knows the logistics. In fact, the only time I really got a window into understanding how much she does is when COVID happened, because then we stopped going to the office. We built kind of like a home office.
Yes.
Where even I was sitting with my kids at some point doing school, I'm doing my work. Then I started to understand what happens in my house, because I'll be one of those guys that could leave the house at 5:36. I come back late at night because I'm working the whole day in the office. So I started to appreciate what actually goes on in the home. The point where I could even sort of say, like, are we running out of bananas? Are we?
Yes.
I noticed some unga.
Right.
Things. So I started to understand what she really does the whole day.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, she's doing a lot, but she's like the logistics master.
Yes.
And then my role is go out there, find the bacon,
Bring it
cook
home.
it, and bring it home. And my job is to facilitate and organize the other pieces. But without that complementariness, where there's no clear distinction between who does what and who owns what, I
Yes.
think there's chaos.
So are you supposed to have a sit down and just discuss with your wife and set ground rules that add
I think it just sort of happens organically.
organically?
Yeah.
And it was just very clear, like, look, you're the guy going out doing the work, bring it home.
Okay.
She's making sure there's things happening in the home. She's nurturing the children in ways that maybe I can't. And I don't know how to. And I think that clear, and I think maybe it sort of harkens back to traditional African values or Christian values, where there's no sort of misunderstanding of who's what. And there's that respect as well. We also live in a modern society, I'm sorry to say this, where there's been this overemphasis, or some people are calling the wokeness, where, especially in the context of women and the boy child, for instance, there's this blurring sort of line around what's the man's role or what's the woman's role.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, I'm not saying that anyone has to subscribe to what I'm saying. Some people are going to be watching this and saying, maybe it's chauvinistic or it's very old school. But there's something about these foundational principles that go back thousands of years that I think have some deeper meaning and foundation that we need to respect.
Yeah.
And I believe that we operate on them in our relationship, in our marriage. And that, I think, is what sort of steadies the ship and keeps it sailing in the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
I think for us, the fundamental principle here, especially in my marriage, is that we both really value family. Like, I come from a very close family. She has a close family as well. And so when anything has to do with our family, me, Grace, and our kids, that's top priority. We can't go against that value. It's so ingrained in us. It's part of our identity. And I think it's important, even as we are going about life and love and marriage and romance and parenting and all the things that go into a home and into a relationship like this, like a marriage relationship, that you are not forgetting who you are fundamentally. That you are, at the end of the day, if you were to break it down and say, what are the things I truly value in this life? If I had to choose between maybe a half-lying career but it's taking me away from my family and my kids don't know who I am and never see me, is that something I would struggle with? For me, it wouldn't be a struggle. It's an automatic, I'd prioritize my family first. So you want to also think about, who is this person that you're going to end up with? Are they going to struggle to choose you over something else? And for me, in my mind, I know Grace is not struggling, choosing family over anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a phrase I think we use sometimes when we talk about people and how they perceive the world. And I think we call it the mental model, right? It's how you see the world, how you view the world. And it's usually through your beliefs, what you saw your parents doing, what your friends do, the society that you are part of. It gives you the mental model of what you think the world is. And I think one of the things that I would say that also becomes critical in this age for young people is, are you and your partner looking at the world through the same mental model? And this is very critical because it has everything to do with things like value systems. What is acceptable or non-acceptable behavior? what is your viewpoint on money? What is your viewpoint on family? Now, if you guys don't have that at a compatible level, inevitably conflict is going to emerge. And in fact, what I've learned from life is that when there's a unique challenge or a financial problem in a relationship or missed expectations, by 3 years, we should be this.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in some couples, there are people where like somebody's given ultimatums or the husband like, we must have kids by year 1. If those mismatches start to emerge, that thing has no hope.
Right.
But if you have similar mental models, which is why I suspect the fact that they were even in the church environment doing similar things is a reflection of their respective mental models that actually were able to merge in a way so that they are then fully compatible for the long term.
Yes.
And the younger people, unfortunately, when you talk about microwave romance, is that they're measuring what they see on TV. Oh, sorry, TV is our generation. Sorry, what they see on social media. We grew up on TV, my generation. These guys are watching social media. They're seeing instant success. They want careers where in 2 years they're earning what you earn. They want a relationship that's overnight. Many of these young marriages, by the way, we're hearing are failing.
Yes.
Many of them not lasting 2 to 5 years. And quite often, I think it's built on a foundation of false fake news, so to speak. They have this mental model that's not true, and that invariably leads to a situation where the marriage or the partnership has no likelihood of success. Because what is that foundation?
What is the
Where does it come from?
And even just taking the time to build that foundation is going to be a challenge, especially in the current generation. There are places where I've gone and, people have asked me about, how I met Grace and how, we dated. And then when I say that we dated for 6 years, people are in disbelief. You're like, what were you guys doing for 6 years?
After 1 year, 2 years.
And it's just where we were in our...
Marinating.
Yeah.
Yes, so marinating for 6 years.
And it was also just where we were in our lives. As in, I was in campus, she was in campus. What are we... Yeah, as in, we were just in a relationship. We were dating. And even in the dating, I was very clear in my head that this may or may not work. And either way, it's going to be fine. You see, that last part, that last part is what people don't usually like hearing.
Right.
That it is going to be okay if this did not work. Because many people get into relationships right now, envisioning children and a whole life. You envision your whole life, and you're just like, you met this person 6 months ago. You barely know this person. And like you said, it's until adversity hits that you start to see someone's real nature, their character. You start to see how do they respond under pressure or when there's scarcity, for example, finances, things are tight. Who is this person? When there's conflict, maybe it's and this one has to do probably with in-laws, or there's conflict in the office, or there's just strife. There are children, the people who've fought because of their kids, and to the point of divorce. And it's so sad that you are not taking the time to measure yourself and this other person in terms of compatibility. Compatibility, as people will say, it's overrated. You just need to feel a certain way about someone and
like a spark.
Have faith. And no, there are things that are fundamental. The same way you don't just buy. I mean, I see people who, I know guys who, when he was making the decision to buy a car, oh my God, the research, the amount of research that went into that decision. They
have folders and folders.
He had so much work. As in, he was going to car bazaars and yards, as in all these, he wants to test drive, he wants to see the engine, he wants his mechanic to come and do an evaluation. I'm like, but when it comes to a relationship, you just want to...
You want to rush
things.
I don't know a little bit about the car story.
Yes.
So when I was very young, my late father, it's one of the things we were so happy when he did it. He went and bought himself a BMW. He'd been successful.
Fantastic.
He had a tabia of buying second-hand cars. He came from a frugal background. He came through as they say, he came up the hard way. As much as guys were coming from shags in the 60s,
yes,
he was like the lower shags, not the upper shags. So he was a guy who was coming out like from ground 0. You know what I mean? Like he worked hard, he excelled. So, I always had this impression when I get to the point in my life, I'd like to buy a BMW. I'm a big fan of BMWs. So there's a time in my life when I was doing some kind of work and I was making a lot of money to the extent that a few times my car found itself in a yard or two, and I started looking and kicking the tires. And in particular, the 5 Series, which is what my dad had. And I remember I had this moment that I think it is time. And at that time, I was kind of living the good life, hanging out with the boys, going to having the whiskeys, the single malts.
Yes.
And of course, what would happen is invariably you come out of those joints.
Yes.
And you see all your buddies' cars, man. All these, what do you call German machinery.
Right.
Okay? So, you start having that ego moment of, now it is time. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know.
It is time.
I know.
Even me, I must.
Yes.
So I started having serious contemplations and discussions, and I'll never forget. My wife, again, the pragmatic one, she sat down now. This urge you are getting, what is it about?
What is
really?
it?
And we broke it down. It broke down to the fact that you're basically buying something or looking for something. Chances are to impress people you don't even like.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you, how many people today have a partner who literally will pull you back from insanity for the greater good and say, this is not right. And lo and behold, a few months later, whatever I was doing at that point in time came to an end.
Yeah.
And literally those monies would have been so vital if I had bought them in a car. But now it was literally cash that was in other investments and things. So think about the fact that, again, when you talk about foundations of a marriage or a good relationship, is your partner the type who will be telling you, like, let's go, baby, let's get that car, let's do the ride, let's keep up with everyone? Or will she pull you back and say, look, the cars we have down here are fine. That money could go into this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, rainy day. And you're kind of like, you almost feel like a young kid who's being told by their mom, you kind of.
You can't get the candy.
Okay. You kind of agree, but you realize later on, like, man, what a blessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
And you see, that's usually very common, especially for people who grew up in struggle. And then now you come into wealth,
Yes.
come into money. You feel entitled to live that good life. And
That
so
you
when
deserve
someone,
it.
so you probably will even gravitate to if I know people who got into the good life when they were dating, and unfortunately they ended up with cheerleaders instead of someone pragmatic to help moderate their appetite for this good life. And like all things, some things, if they're not well managed, they go away.
They go away.
So now those things are gone.
Exactly.
And this person who was once your cheerleader is now your biggest source of pressure. They're like, how are you not like so and so? And they are doing. Where are you?
And you were
that is like hell.
Yes.
That is the worst place you can find yourself.
And let me add another dimension to this story. We're talking about people in conventional careers. Me, I always like to tell people, when you're dealing with a person, husband or wife, who's an entrepreneur, it's an entirely different kettle of fish.
Yes.
Because what does an entrepreneur do? You go into something with passion, desire, and love. And you're manifesting things from nothing. That paycheck that arrives is because you manifested a sale. That project you delivered is because you manifested enough confidence from a client to hire a team that delivers the work. Now imagine somebody's coming from that mental model of, I'm now Juakali. Your partner maybe is corporate. Chances are they'll be sitting at you, looking at you and saying, now you, that thing of yours that is not paying
that
the bills,
thing
that will never take care of us.
Ouch.
I'm holding the ship for you.
Yeah.
Now imagine the frame of, as you said, meeting in good times, and then maybe somebody says, I'm leaving corporate to go to Akali. You're going to take a hit. I remember when my dad went from employment to, doing his own thing. I was a child, but I remember saying, Mom, how come we don't longer get nani for breakfast? How come we're eating this? How come schools have become that?
Yes.
And this guy is there trying to manifest a better life for his family so that we all have, and he did, by the way. But the point at the end of the day being that another dynamic to this whole process is think about the entrepreneur versus the non-entrepreneur partner. How does that dynamic work?
Exactly. And I love that perspective. And I think it's so important, especially the way you said, dating an entrepreneur or just being in a relationship, you need to find that common ground. Greg, you talked about something very interesting about your in-laws. So how is your relationship, first of all, with your in-laws, and how do you try to keep it sane, especially because you love your wife and you want a good relationship?
Well, my relationship with my in-laws is fine. It's what I've learned with time is you just they become your family. You see, the one thing that most people don't prepare for when they're in relationships is that you imagine that you're just going to marry this person, but you're forgetting that this person comes with other people behind them. They come with siblings. They come with parents. They come even with cousins who maybe they are close. So I have to say, Grace's side of the family, especially they have this monthly meetup as cousins.
Wow.
As cousins.
Oh, goodness.
As in they're that tight.
I hope my cousins are listening.
And their events are loud.
Wow.
So you can imagine me who is reserved,
Yes,
how I was coping with that.
exactly.
But you see, it just came to a point where I had to be honest and just let them know, as in, I'm not as outgoing as you guys would want me to be. However, I am perfectly fine sitting in a corner in this gathering.
I'm having fun.
I'm having fun. I'm observing. I'm laughing at, and I'm contributing. I'm just not going to do the TikTok dance, or I'm going to do the
Yes.
all the shouting and laughter and all that stuff. And so once they know who you are, guess what? People just adapt to who you are. Yeah, and it's a human setting. If the first time I met you, Joy, and you told me I don't like this, I like this, I will remember. And if I want, to be in good standing with you, I will try and do those things. Like, I'll give you an example. Working in an office where I used to work, people were coming from all kinds of backgrounds. And me being a strong Christian, there are things that I just value in conversations. So we're having conversations, and then someone is just profanity from beginning to end.
Yes.
As in, it's just like, I feel so uncomfortable. In the beginning, I used to let me just not say anything.
Grin and bear.
Yeah, let me just bear this, lest I become the outsider. But I realized, what am I doing? So one day I was just like, we're having a conversation, and then the way they were expressing whatever they were saying was with such profane statements. I was just like, okay, you don't have to curse with every sentence. Could you just moderate your language, at least for me?
Exactly.
Just so that we can have this conversation.
Yes.
Wow.
And from that moment, I'd be approaching a table, I can hear the language is off. But the moment I arrive, they switch.
change. Okay.
And it's natural and it's just fine. Sometimes all it needs is for you to speak up and say, this is who I am and this is how I prefer things, and let people just know.
Exactly.
Because most conflicts usually arises from assumptions. People assume you're a certain way. Because you are with Grace is outgoing, so you must also love this outgoing
environment,
things.
Environment,
loud, lots of activity, a lot of movement.
Yes.
You must be okay with these things. So they just assume that you're like that. But once I let them know, I'm really happy. We have good relations with my brothers-in-law and with the cousins from Grace's side, because they know Greg is in a certain way, and they will moderate themselves.
And they've accepted you.
Yeah, and they've accepted that I'm like that. And it's not a permanent thing. Usually I'm very reserved at the first few encounters.
Yes.
I just want to know this environment. It's like I'm acclimatizing. But once I'm there, I'm also the one over there playing taboo with you guys. I'm doing charades. I'm right there with you.
Yes.
But I may not warm up
instantly
as you everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about you, Moses? How is your relationship with your in-laws?
It's wonderful. Remember I told you it wasn't just the coming of two people in terms of values and so forth, but I kind of feel like I've been adopted by my wife's family, because most of my family are not in the country, and I'm basically alone in Kenya right now as we speak, but I'm the only one left in this country. And in a way, they really have become that. So Christmases, hanging out, birthday parties.
To be like, come.
Yeah, so it's my brother-in-law. He's got children. He's married. Very unfortunately, I lost my other brother-in-law. He passed away very suddenly some years ago. And even that moment was a moment of realizing this is family. Because when his fiancée at the time was trying to reach me, one of the calls that came was they couldn't seem to reach my wife. They couldn't seem to reach my brother-in-law. They got me first, who at the time was actually somewhere having an evening with the boys. And anyway, that's a story for another day. But the point is, I got the call. I immediately got in the car, ran home, and we started to deal with the issue. And then unfortunately, he was not in Nairobi at the time. He passed away that night. But what has happened is over the years, we have become so knit, so much a part of each other's lives that I look at my my mother-in-law as my mom. I look at my brother-in-law as my bro. We're in each other's lives fully. And again, it comes back to, when you find that partner or the spouse, it's not just them you're marrying. You're marrying a broader ecosystem
Exactly.
of people, of players, of moments, of expectations. And I think I've been very, very fortunate to land, a partner where, I really do feel like we are one, like I'm just like, it's just like I was a brother that wasn't there before and now he's there, and vice versa. A family I didn't have and now they're my family.
Yeah.
They're my family in Kenya, So I'm really happy with that. I can't complain about that at all.
Have you had moments, either of you, of strife, maybe with the relationships, could be with your sister-in-law, your brother-in-law?
Well, as it turns out, maybe the earlier years were a bit tense because we got married after the fact when I had my son.
Okay.
And, that was interesting because you could feel the dynamic around the fact that we're not yet married and things were a little bit awkward. There's a Christian family situation there. And I'd say the earlier years, there was a lot of possibly doubt or trepidation around me as far as their daughter was concerned. But of course, once everything was settled and everything became clearer down the road, all of that melts away. And of course, now you are definitely there. You're definitely one of the family. As you know, in those ambiguous scenarios, any family would be concerned. But down the road, it almost feels like we've always been together. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're tight like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, yes, there has been, periods of strife, especially when there's been like major conflict between Grace and I, the kind of conflict that even escalates to the family level. So they are aware of the conflict. My family also is aware. So the tendency for the in-law families is for people to cover their person. So my family is coming to my defense. Her family is coming to hers. And then it's just a wait and see. So it's like, we are friends as long as you two are getting along. But it's almost like if you guys are having issues, there's like a distance. And it's not intentional. It's just maybe a natural reset. People are just like, okay, you're hurting my sister. So I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to process that. So let's just retreat. Or you're hurting my brother. I'm like, let's wait and see. So there's because like I said, we grew up close. Like me and my siblings were really tight. So if I hear you are victimizing or something's off with my sibling and it's because of you, I'll naturally want to gravitate to shield them and to protect them from you, which is weird.
Yes,
because you are one. And most of the times, like there was a period of time when we did have serious conflict, and the one thing I realized is, as much as your family, your siblings, your parents love you, they can also do a lot of damage to your marriage if you're not careful. It's really
well-meaning usually.
Yeah, and it's very well-meaning. They're coming from a place where they want what's best for you, but from what you have told them, or what they have observed, there's this big fight between you and your spouse, and they feel like your spouse is wrong, and you deserve better.
So how do you create that demarcation that you're not?
That was hard.
Yes,
that was hard. It was literally me having now to defend my spouse to my family.
Wow.
And that's a hard place to be.
It is.
Because I also realized maybe I wasn't painting the full picture to my family about who this person is to me. And so they would only see what they see when they come for birthdays and for parties. And, we're not really talking at that depth where they can see, Grace is like really, really, really good for Greg.
Right.
So when there's conflict and they find out, their default setting is to, hey, galvanize, everyone come, Greg is in problems, is in trouble, and we need to intervene. I'm just like, no, as in, for me, like in that particular scenario, there were things that I had done wrong, but it didn't seem to register to them that I had done some things wrong.
You're always right.
Or just like, you are ours.
Yes.
And so them, they have an unconditional love in me.
Yes.
The whole setting is, yes, you've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But I'm just like, I do need to deal with something, and I need the support I need from you guys is not to ostracize my wife.
Yeah. Right.
and I need to work things out with her. It was a difficult conversation I had to have, and just to let them know that let me handle this.
Yeah.
But Greece is not your enemy, and she had to do the same on her end, because people were taking hard stances. People were digging in and were like, "I am too."
Yes.
And then only to realize, by the way, if this relationship doesn't work, it means you are not really in my corner. It's like because that's the message that was communicated at that point. Like, if things don't work with you and our daughter, you're not our son. Yeah. Or if things don't work with you and my sister, you're not my brother.
Oh, goodness.
But we had to fix that. So, and you see, the biggest challenge is going back to your family, the one that you were raised in, and correct them. Like, correct them as who? As in, they've seen you your whole life. And the perspective they have is very skewed towards giving you benefit of doubt. But that's not what the other family knows. They only know you through their relationship with their son or their daughter.
Exactly.
And so it's important that in whatever relationship, in your marriage, you need to be the one managing your family. She needs to be the one managing her family. And you need to do it intentionally.
And creating those boundaries of what exactly are you telling others.
Exactly.
So they're not perceiving your wife as the enemy.
Because that's also the reality. People are tending to overshare. In some of the things I've come across on social media, I'm just like, maybe you guys need to first talk at home before you involve with the rest of the world.
Exactly.
What about the other one I see? There's somebody I know quite well, prominent person. If you see her updates on socials, you would think these guys are the image of the most loving relationship.
Yes,
but behind the scenes,
they're
apparently the guy is battering her,
Apparently. So there's also just a place for honesty. There's a place for where you are exercising wisdom about how much you're sharing, especially with your family. And you see, it's one thing for me to go to a therapist and bare my soul and really talk about things I'm struggling with. But it's a whole other thing when I'm telling my brother. Because he will just take a whole other stance about the person that's causing me problems.
Exactly.
Because he is so invested in my well-being.
Yes.
He will not be neutral. He will not be neutral. That therapist will be neutral here, and they will be able to help me navigate, whatever issue that is.
Yes. And actually behind set, we were talking about therapy. So is it something that you've done with your wife?